On this episode, question and listen. Hey everybody, welcome to the Quarters Show. Today we're talking about questioning and listening, and this is really, really important, certainly to discovery calls, sales meetings, in business in general, in coaching, in leadership, in everything. I put a lot of stock in asking questions, and there's books out there. There's books on questioning, and you know, I haven't honestly read a lot of those different books, but I know there's a lot of things on questioning and how you ask questions and tactical questions, and people talk cliches sort of about listening and how important listening is, but I can't underscore how important these two things are in selling, certainly, and just even, you know, in business in general. You know, but when you go to any meeting of any type, certainly in selling, and a lot of people come in. I've had this happen to me. They start into the pitch right away. They start pitching you like, this is what I want to pitch you or whatever. And I would caution that. I think it's a complete mistake. I think personally, the thing to do is to, you know, understand and get familiar and ask questions. You have to ask pointed questions and keep asking questions until you arrive at clarity. You know, you have to ask questions to arrive at clarity, and you know, you sort of leave nothing up to the gods, you know, and leave nothing to be undiscovered, leave nothing vague, right? You have to dig and explore with questioning and go surgical on questioning until you have the utmost clarity about who they are, what the problem is, everything you need to arm you up. So when you are ready to talk, when you are ready to go in, you've questioned and you've listened, right? So often I'll find myself when I'm on the phone. Let's say I'm in my office and I'm on the phone and having some kind of discovery call. I question, and when they answer, often I'll close my eyes. I close my eyes and listen to what they're saying because I want to absorb it. I want to concentrate. I want to absorb everything that they're saying. I really do care, and I really do intensely listen. And I don't want to be distracted by things that I'm looking at or things that sort of distract me. That's my own thing. I'm not saying you have to do that. But I want to emphasize the level of concentration that I put into listening. And it's important for me to question and continue questioning until I have complete clarity. And for when they're responding, don't just acknowledge people. Don't just kind of steamroll, and don't pretend like you're asking questions or pretend like you're appeasing them or being authentic. You do have to be authentic, and you do have to listen. And when you listen, I want you to concentrate entirely. You've got to concentrate and absorb what they're saying, because you're going to need that information later. And when you absorb what they say, then you can come back, and when it's your time to speak, you're armed, and you can circle back and say, well, based off what you told me, and here's what we're looking at doing, and here's my recommendation, or whatever. But you can use the knowledge that you attain from asking questions and listening. A lot of people in sales comb over this part, and where they should have asked a question, they're on a sales call where they should have asked a question, and they comb over it. They know they should ask the question there. They comb over it, they miss it, they don't get clarity, they don't know that part, and then they get off the phone, and later, let's say I'm managing somebody or I'm coaching somebody on my team, and I ask them, where are we at? And I start asking them questions. I ask, where are we at in the cycle? What happened here? What about this? What's their title? Who's this? What's this? All these different things. And they're like, I don't know. I didn't ask that. I didn't ask that. I forgot to ask. It's like they either forgot to ask or they didn't ask. You know, they don't want to ask those different questions that might even sometimes be awkward, or maybe a higher level confront, or whatever. But they don't take it to that depth. And when you do, it's incredible, and it also shows that you're interested in the prospect. It also gets you more engaged and invested in the selling experience. And the truth is, people like to talk about themselves. They like to receive the questions, and the more they ask the questions, and the more you are interested, and the more they're answering, the truth is that further and further they're invested in the sales cycle. So I would encourage you that when you have a discovery call, take time to be smart, ask questions. If you have to be prepared, come with questions beforehand, but go through a series of questions, let them talk. When they talk, really truly listen, concentrate and listen, and wait your turn. I know you want to jump in. I know you want to say something. I know you want to pitch. Wait your turn. Be patient.
I almost ended up being an order taker earlier today. Guy called me and, we want 4 videos for this and that. And I was just like, cool, with my little pen and pad, 4 videos, and the total cost will be, and it's like, and then I was like, cool, I'll call you back with a proposal. And then I realized I got off the phone. I'm like, I didn't like give him, like, I didn't make him important in any way at all. Like, I just like, cool, you're a number to me and you're a sale to me, and that's how I whether or not he directly knew it, that's how, as soon as I got off the phone, I went, whoops. So I got the proposal together, called him back, and established, what are we doing these for, right? We'd already talked about 1 video, and he's like, actually I probably need 4. So then I found out more about it and gave him some importance, not just to give him some importance. You can get into sort of like just the mechanics and the game of things instead of caring about your clients and trying to move them along and stuff like that. And on that note, part of asking questions is not just to ask questions, but because if you've ever had a friend come to you for advice and you've made the mistake of giving them advice, which is fine. We all give advice, it's great. We're trying to be friends. But you give them advice and you observe they don't take it, right? That happens pretty much nonstop in life. It's kind of like what every rom-com is all about and stuff like that. Like, that's what it is. So all of the things you need to help them make the right decision to become a client, they have in them. You need to get out, when do you need this done? Why are you trying to solve this problem? Like, what's happening, right? Like, who else needs to be involved in the decision? Like, you need to get all of these points out so that you can make a proper recommendation, right? I happen to know that anything that anyone buys from Richter is going to solve some aspect of a thing that they're dealing with, so it can help them. They could just drop money in my lap, and all day long, any prospect or client could, and we would exchange so much with them. I wouldn't feel bad at all.
Yeah.
Right. And you might feel that about your product, which can lead you towards becoming an order taker, because you just know that they need to sign up. They just need to, and you know.
Yeah.
So you have to sort of rein yourself in a little bit, treat them as this is a brand new experience for them. You need to find out all the things about the thing so that when you come back to them and go, I need you to sign this proposal because you told me it needs to be done by mid-November. It needs to solve the problem of this trade show we have coming up, and we need a lot of groundswell and traction from prospects beforehand. We've all been talking about it for months, and we just haven't gotten off our behinds to get it done. All the information, and you can come back. Here's what you said. Sign off.
Right? Yeah, it's interesting. I'm listening to this book right now by Alex Ferguson, Sir Alex Ferguson, I think it is, called Leading, and he's the guy that coached or ran and managed the Manchester United, the soccer club, football as they call it in the UK, and brilliant book, brilliant guy, interesting. I guess if you're a fan of Arsenal or some of the other groups, you probably hate this book, but there's always something to learn. But he talks about this old saying that I think we've all heard in business. He says, God gave you 2 ears, 2 eyes, and 1 mouth, and he talks about listening, but he also talks about looking, observing, and he's so right. It's like you have to really absorb the scene. You have to listen more than you talk. You have to look and pay attention, and but prior to listening is asking questions and being engaged and really understanding the landscape of a deal, whether it's in business in general, being an entrepreneur, or in sales, which is, if there's one thing that I would heavily invest in or heavily attribute to being vitally important to being a fantastic salesperson, is some of the best salespeople I've ever seen are masters at asking questions and listening. Frankly, that's that is where I put a huge amount of stock. They ask questions and they listen. And you can close deals literally just by asking questions and listening. And these are huge, important points. But you do have to concentrate. You do have to pay attention, and then you can curate the deal based off what you asked questions on and what you listened to sort of tailor it to the prospect and come back, and your sales flow is almost that much easier, and people are all too often just in this like sort of robotic pitch land. They want to pitch. They're pitching something. They're pitching a product. They're pitching a service. They have something to sell. And just today, I had one of our sales guys ask me. So I had this company, $1 billion company, blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. So what do you think? And I said, what do you think I should tell them or say to them? I was like, have you had the discovery call? It's like,
no, I haven't done that yet.
I was like, don't say anything. Like, don't go into the discovery meeting pre-planned with a preconceived idea of what the solution is.
Yeah, no.
To go in and now you've already have a fixed idea of what you're going to pitch, which could poison the whole thing. I go into a discovery call. First of all, I don't even know if we are going to do business or even if I want to do business or if we're the right fit or whatever. Both ways. So, it makes that discovery call very comfortable. I'm not nervous about discovery calls. I don't worry about it. It's not a big deal because I'm discovering. I don't know. I'm going in to ask questions. I'm going in to explore. I'm going in to listen. I want to understand the landscape, right? And then from there, I can get invigorated about it. And I'm like, I get their problem. I get their motivation. I get the thing they're trying to solve. I understand the landscape. And at the end, I could say, let me recommend, here's what I recommend. Or I'm going to say, look, I'm going to come back at you with a few recommendations. And I'll send you a proposal that aligns with those recommendations. I'm going to send you examples and some other things of our work and maybe some case studies and things like that also follows the recommendation that I'm going to make. Mm-hmm. And then once I've made that recommendation, now I have something to pitch. Now I have something to sell against. But it wasn't until I asked questions and continued asking questions until I had complete and utter clarity of the landscape or the problem or the thing that they're dealing with. I need to know them. I need to know what's happening. That's effective selling. If you're just pitch, it's a weak strategy. It's a weak strategy, and it won't take you to the level where you're trying to go, and people see through it, right? And then they degrade the sale as well. They're just like, okay, this person's just pitching me. Just get it pitched. Thank you for your pitch. And then they keep going, right? But you have to earn that. You have to earn that attention, and you have to be interested, and you have to sort of mine through. And if there's anything that you don't know, if there's anything, you need to ask. You need to ask questions, and you need to get down to the utmost clarity. Mm-hmm. And say, you know what? Before we get off the phone, 2 other questions. Keep going.
Yeah, there's. I know we got to wrap soon, but there's been a couple points where I've gotten backed off of like doing that a little bit. When I've had a couple prospects who are like, "Oh, I know what you're doing," that sort of thing. You're being a salesperson by asking me this and that. I'm not going to talk about those questions. If you ever encounter that, it's happened I just wanted to put it out there. It's happened very, very rarely. Ignore that completely.
Yeah.
Ignore that. Or you get the person on the phone. Okay, give me your pitch. I got 5 minutes or whatever. Cool. This conversation will take longer than 5 minutes. So I totally appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Let's set up a different.
No.
time.
Yeah, for sure. And
don't go into demands for your pitch. And don't ever fall for somebody telling you to not inquire and be interested because they think you're being a salesperson. It's a bunch of both of those things are garbage.
Unfortunately, the customer who's saying just give me your pitch. Unfortunately, they've run into a lot of weaker people who've done that. They've just pitch, and now they're just saying, okay, give me your pitch. Yeah. You got 5 minutes, give me your pitch. That's somebody who's not really engaged in a sales cycle anyway. And I would encourage you to pull out of that and circle back when they really are willing to invest. And the truth is, it's not a pitch. You need to understand them. it's not a pitch. Initially, you just need to understand them, and you need to be asking questions, and you need enough length, enough time to understand them before you can really pitch anything. If you're just going straight in pitching stuff, in many cases, it's just not appropriate. There are some cases where maybe it's just a very specific product, but even then, you got to understand what problem you're trying to solve, what problem are you solving, what are you bringing to the table, like why are they even in that conversation, there must be something going on there, need, want, motivation, deadline, something that's coming up. There must be something that's happening that's triggering them to have the phone call, right? You have to figure out what that is and who they are. Who are you speaking to? If you were to do something, where is it coming from? Is there a deadline? What's happening here? What's this? What's that? When do you need, like, all these different things? Because there might be something you might ask a question. You might say, well, when do you need this by, or some other thing. You ask some question, and the response that they give you is a deal breaker. Let's say. Let's say the response you give is a deal breaker. I've had this happen. I'm like, John, I appreciate the phone call. This isn't something we would do.
Wow.
I've had that. And I end the call and hang up. I said, I don't want to waste your time. I certainly don't want to waste my own as well. Whatever, and just hang up.
Yeah.
But, the truth is that if you just pitch, you might just go pitch for 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 minutes against what? For nothing.
Yeah.
Completely waste your time. Waste their time. You have to explore. You have to understand. You have to ask questions to get complete clarity. You have to, when you ask questions, you have to listen intensely, concentrate, right? And then, you can curate your pitch to what's appropriate, and not just be trying to pitch people, because people know, people are used to that, and
yeah, it's not genuine.
It's not genuine.
You need to be real
Yeah.
with each single one.
Yeah, and that's going to take you a lot further.
Yeah.
Hope that helps. Hope you enjoyed the episode. If you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe at the end, a little subscribe button in the center. Click on that. We certainly appreciate it. And hit the like button, share it on social, and we'll have more coming at you soon. Thanks.